Yo, the enemy's public, I gotta keep my eyes open. Pay attention, stop walking around like you blindfolded. This not the World Cup, but Nasir be kicking knowledge. This the type of information you can never learn in college. It's time to fight back, it's no more trying to play it cool. We got interviews, podcasts, and got the latest news. So sit back and relax, we about to get it started. Earth is a canvas, and guess who's the con artist? They brainwashing us, the system corrupted. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. I said you are now rocking with the enemy's public. Hey.
A once gold-driven, ambitious Sapphire turns to the street life after the sudden death of her big brother Dre. Dre's best friend Devontae tries to honor his homeboy's last request of looking out for his baby sister. The rebellious Sapphire makes it very difficult for Devontae to carry out his promise. Author Angela King James presents Fire. Get it on Amazon, on paperback, or Kindle.
Peace. This is the enemy's public. I am Bro.Nasir. I hope everyone's having a good evening. Peace to my brother Keith West. Thanks for joining me. This evening, I want to speak about this system corrupt to the core. This is part 2. I want to speak about a doctor allegedly performing a cesarean section too late and applied excessive tension on a baby's head, causing it to detach from the body. A lawsuit alleges the firm also said the doctor did not immediately tell the mother and father, Travion Isaiah Taylor, what happened. What's crazy about this, they was people that was there in the operating room where she was, trying to give birth. There was some difficulties. The baby was, it said the shoulders were stuck some kind of way. And someone was trying to tell the residency, the doctor, that they should do a cesarean. But the doctor tried to tried to pull on the baby by his head and detached the baby's head from the body. And they did a cesarean section afterwards. And the mother only, according to what news sources said, pushed the baby's head out. But the other part from, I guess, where it detached from down to the feet was pulled out with the cesarean section. And they wouldn't allow the parents to see the newborn baby. From my understanding, according to news sources, the doctors propped the baby up to make it appear that it was together. Peace to my brother Big Dog Philly OG. And what was crazy about that, wouldn't allow the parents to see the baby. And days later, the doctor came clean, saying that the baby didn't make it. Didn't come clean at all. The doctor didn't come clean. The doctor started the cover up. Now, this baby head was detached from his body. Now, The funeral home contacted the parents of the little baby and informed them that the baby's head was not, you know, with the body. It was decapitated. The baby's head was not a part of the body. They learned this from the funeral home. The doctor did not tell the parents of the little baby, which is crazy. The brother Travion Isaiah Taylor, they didn't tell him that his baby's head was detached from its body. Now, this is beyond malpractice. To cover this up, to cover such incompetence and lack of compassion for these parents by acting like the baby's head was on his body, but it really wasn't. Now I want to play some videos of news sources giving some of this story. I'm not going to say in detail, but how they do it, I'll say that much. It's a damn shame that people can do this to a baby and to the parents of this baby. It's a damn shame.
Deep scientific research that in majority Black communities, these women have a 63% higher incident of having damage to themselves or their babies. These numbers are similar in the Hispanic community. And then when you take this high number, the numbers are even higher amongst young people between the ages of 15 and 24. As you can see, Ms. Ross is both young and Black. So I'm going to turn this over to Attorney Corey Lynch. He's going to let you know more about our clients here. Attorney Lynch.
While I was just doing this,
medical examiner. This report was made by a funeral home, and after the funeral home waved the flag and alerted the authorities regarding this, it wasn't until then when Dr. St. Julian.
I'm going to run that back. So I want everyone to get what they would say.
Did not report the death to the authorities of Clayton County or the Clayton County medical examiner. This report was made.
What the attorney is saying, that the doctor did not report the death of this baby to the authorities or anyone in the hospital. Now, the baby died. The baby's head was decapitated. And this was not reported to the hospital or the authorities. And the parents found out from the funeral home when they was planning to do a service for their little baby.
by a funeral home. And after the funeral home waved the flag and alerted the authorities regarding this, it wasn't until then when Dr. St. Julian uh, told the family what actually happened. Up to that point, they had encouraged the family to, hey, just have a cremation done. Oh no, you cannot do a autopsy. Well, if you want an autopsy, you have to get it.
They tried to discourage the parents from getting a independent autopsy, saying that they would have to pay for it when usually the state, if you request a autopsy, the state would pay for it. But this hospital, in particular, the doctor who did this heinous act, tried to discourage the parents from having an autopsy because she was covering up the fact that she pulled that baby's head off.
You pay for you by yourself. You're not entitled to that. They did everything in their power to try to not let the family know what actually happened on that day. Um, and that's unfortunate. And there is a current investigation going on with Clayton County Police Department and the Medical Examiner's Office, as well as the GBI, into the failure to report the death that happened and this incident. And because of this fraud, this misrepresentation, the family is seeking punitive damages against Southern Regional Medical Center, Dr. St. Julian, and other parties.
Somebody need to do more than pay punitive damages to this family for what transpired. For them to pull a baby's head off and then cover it up, prop the baby up, trying to show it to the parents as if it's together, and then don't allow them to see the baby, act like they're coming clean and said their baby didn't make it. So they wanted an autopsy. They discouraged them from getting an autopsy, just ran away with the baby, and the funeral home informed the parents that the baby head was detached from the body. That's crazy.
Parties who lawsuit.
Attorney Lynch is going to tell you a little bit more about our clients also.
All right, Jessica and Travion met at North Clayton High School, and that's where their love story begins. They've been together for a little while, and they were so excited about the birth of their first child, and they went to Premier for care because they were close by, they were in the neighborhood, and because there were women doctors there, and they thought that they would get the best care there. But unfortunately, their dreams and hopes turned into a nightmare that was covered up by Southern Regional Medical Center. And that's why we're here today.
Thank you, Attorney Lynch. Let me just tell you very briefly, let me just tell you all about what happened. Okay. On July the 9th, 2023, just a few weeks ago, Jessica and Travion, they were excited. She was 37 weeks pregnant at that time, and they were really, really looking forward to the delivery of their firstborn child. Her water broke at about 10 o'clock in the morning on the 9th. Appropriately, she went over to labor and delivery over at Southern Regional. They admitted her and put her on an IV and gave her some medicine to basically progress the delivery. She labored for about 10 hours, and then probably around 10, strike that about 8:40 in the evening, she was fully dilated and told her to start pushing. Well, during the course of the pushing, the baby stopped descending. There's something called a shoulder dystocia, fancy word for saying that the baby's shoulders could not fit through the pelvic girdle. It got stuck by the bone there in the pelvic girdle. That was recognized, and what wound up happening after that is just brutal. Dr. St. Julian came in, and she, in the process of trying to deliver this baby, pulled on the baby's head and neck so hard and manipulated them so hard that the bones in the baby's skull, face, and neck were broken. When Dr. St. Julian finally took Miss Ross to the operating room for a C-section, cesarean section, where they cut the belly and deliver the baby through the abdomen, uh, when the womb was open, the feet came out, the body came out, and there was no head. The head was stuck in the vagina, and the head subsequently was delivered vaginally. The baby had been decapitated. Dr. St. Julian was grossly negligent for applying ridiculously excessive force on the baby's head and neck. Dr. St. Julian and the nurses at Southern Regional Medical Center, they were grossly negligent for not getting the help of the on-site in-hospital OB in a timely manner. They have a hospitalist obstetrician who's there on site. And when doctors have problems with delivery, the first thing you do is call them, you get help, you get another perspective, another angle. This was not done in a timely manner, negligently. And then also, the nurses at Southern Regional Medical Center were grossly negligent for failing to advocate and insist in other capacities that Ms. Ross got a C-section quicker, sooner, in a more timely manner. So those are the allegations that we claim in this suit. We just filed it. We're going to be very, very aggressive with the discovery. Put all of these people who were in the room under oath and find out what they have to say specifically about what happened that tragic evening. That is the essence.
Now, this is gross negligence, and somebody really needs to go to jail for this, because whoever that doctor was committed a murder. 36 weeks of a pregnancy, and then you don't go home with your child because of the negligence of a doctor who should have did tests before they decided to have her push to determine whether or not she needed cesarean or she can have natural birth. But they did every damn thing wrong. And as a result of that, this couple over here don't have their baby, and then covered it up. That's even worse.
Essence of our suit. That's the essence of the press conference, and we're going to open things up for open things up for question right now.
Have you spoken with the hospital? I mean, why do you think they tried to cover this up?
Yeah, we cannot speculate about what the motivations were for the lack of candor, the lack of disclosure, the misrepresentation, and the fraud. We will find out, because we're going to put everybody under oath, and they're going to swear, and they're going to tell us what they were thinking. We don't know.
Gonna put them under oath as if you putting them under oath. They're going to get on the stand and tell you the truth. That is just outright mockery to me. And you're just going to put them on oath to have them lie to you, especially the one who's guilty of that. They're going to just come out and tell the truth and incriminate themselves. I don't know. They might tell the truth, but I don't count on nothing like that. Not with this damn system.
How long did it take Jessica and everyone to learn what happened?
Attorney Lynch, if you would. It's dealing with the fraud and cover-up.
The family went in on the 9th for the delivery of the child. They were not notified of what actually happened until the 13th, a few days later.
And that was from the medical examiner?
No, that was from the funeral home. Yes.
Can you also speak to the fact that they were not allowed to hold their child?
Yes, they were not allowed to hold their child. The hospital basically said, "Hey, well, we can't let you hold the child. We can, and my understanding is that they, at one time, did not want them to see the child. But what they did, the hospital wrapped the child up very tightly so that they could not see what actually happened."
Are we listening to what this attorney is saying? They actually wrapped the child up in a tight blanket, propping the child up.
And they were able to see the child behind the glass.
And let me be more specific. In an attempt to basically misrepresent and miscommunicate to the family, when they wrapped this baby up tightly, they propped the baby's head up on top of the blanket to make it appear as though the head was actually attached when it wasn't.
So they actually saw the baby on the day of the delivery?
The day that morning, well, the day of the delivery, it's my understanding that same day. So when I say same, they kind of went from the 9th into the 10th. So the stat C-section was called at about close to midnight. The surgery was over at 3 in the morning. The first conversation that Dr. St. Julian had with the couple was at about 5 in the morning, and that's when there was not total candor and disclosure at that time. The records reflect that Dr. St. Julian came in the next day and the next day after with the intention of actually telling the couple the truth. The couple reasonably didn't want to talk to her at that time, and finally, a day after she was discharged, there was a meeting that occurred 4 days after delivery where Dr. St. Julian came clean.
Just for clarity, can you kind of go through the timeline of when birth happened or C-section?
Sure.
When they learned their baby did not make it, and then when they learned.
Okay. And all of
The doctor called herself coming clean by saying that the baby didn't make it, but never told the parents why. They wanted an autopsy. I'm just going to keep repeating this. They wanted an autopsy, and the doctor discouraged the parents from having an autopsy, saying that they would have to pay for it. And they just outright lied to the parents because they wanted to cover up the fact that the doctor pulled the baby's head off, yanking on it. Can you imagine? They cut the sister and took from the wherever they detached the head at down out through the C-section. And she had to push the baby's head out. Only that part she pushed out. That is wickedness. That somebody can actually do this with no problem and cover it up.
all of this is in the complaint and in the facts, but
And can you step closer to the?
yeah, all of this is in the complaint and it's in the facts, but the water broke at about 10 in the morning. They were admitted into the hospital at L&D at about 10 in the morning, 10:11 in the morning. The labor continued at about 8:40 in the evening. That's when she was fully dilated and she started pushing. All of the shoulder dystocia and the failure to descend occurred from 8:40 until about midnight. At about 11:49 p.m., after Dr. St. Julian had been manipulating the head and the neck and the like, trying to get this baby delivered, that's when she finally called for the stat C-section. And they took Miss Ross from the labor delivery suite, which is a separate room. The operating room was just right next door. So they rolled through the doors and then they proceeded and started with the C-section. The C-section, the baby was delivered at about 12:11. That's what the records show. You can go back to the complaint and just verify. But about 10 minutes after rolling the baby back there, the mother back there, the baby was delivered again. Half of the baby first, and then the head a couple seconds after that. And then at 5 in the morning, after the surgery was over at 3 in the morning. At 5 in the morning, that's when Dr. St. Julian came in and gave them this information. The answer is, in fact, yes. There's going to be more evidence developed in this, but my clients asked for a C-section much sooner than it was ever delivered, while the baby was viable. And
I don't know if Jessica was big on what the emotional impact is.
I can tell you, we've asked them to do that. They've declined at this point. It's just too overwhelming for them.
Now, the parents asked for a C-section. They declined. And this is what they have to go through as a result of that. This is an outright beyond nightmare. You go to have care, you think that because it's a hospital that have almost all women working there, that they have some type of compassion. But, this is what happens when some of us go to the hospital. They think our women can endure the most pain. They say they're in pain. They don't believe them. Take all types of time to give them medication, and they don't have any compassion for them. Evidently, they didn't have any compassion for them. If they could do this and then don't tell them, they have to find out from the funeral home. It's crazy.
I mean, that was the plan as of yesterday, but when they were sitting in the conference room, they looked at y'all and said, we just can't do it.
Insurance or lack of insurance was the reason this at all, or the decision not to increase C-section sooner?
No. All right. My law partner, Keith Lindsay, just has conclusionary remarks.
Thank you, Ron. Thank all of you for coming and attending this most important story. It was as horrific as it sounds. We're happy to email copies of the complaint to each and every one of you. Get with our paralegal Alexis for that. And then if you have any questions or requests for interviews, contact Ryan Julison. His number is 321-377-6877. Ryan Julison, and that's JULISON@gmail.com. Again, thank you all.
Go move on to the next video.
To tell you something heartbreaking, but it is graphic and could be inappropriate for children.
A young Clayton County mother and father have sued their OBGYN and Southern Regional Hospital after they claim the doctor's negligence led to their baby being decapitated during childbirth.
In the wrongful death lawsuit filed in Clayton County this morning, the couple claims the hospital covered up their baby's death. Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us from Southern Regional Hospital in Riverdale, where that death happened.
Good evening. What a sad and horrendous story. I have learned today that the Clayton County Police Department is investigating this baby death. And as for the parents, well, they're just too.
Why haven't the doctor been arrested yet? The doctor should have been arrested for this by now.
Distraught to talk about it.
This is one of the most sad, egregious, and horrific situations that I've ever seen.
20-year-old Jessica Ross and her boyfriend, Travion Taylor Sr., have an unimaginable story. Their attorney says the young couple was full of joy and anticipation for their first child. They came here to Southern Regional Medical Center for the delivery July 9th. According to the complaint, doctors had diagnosed Ms. Ross with diabetes a year earlier, making her a high-risk pregnancy, but she consistently went to appointments while she was expecting. The couple's attorney says after about 10 hours of labor, Jessica was fully dilated and ready for delivery of Travion Jr. But according to the complaint, they say his shoulders got stuck in the vaginal canal.
What wound up happening after that is just brutal. Dr. St. Julian came in and she, in the process of trying to deliver this baby, pulled on the baby's head and neck so hard and manipulated them so hard that the bones in the baby's skull, face, and neck were broken.
According to the complaint, that is when Dr. St. Julian called for an emergency C-section.
When the womb was open, the feet came out, the body came out, and there was no head. The head was stuck in the vagina.
The couple's attorneys allege nurses and medical staff at the hospital lied to the couple about what happened, discouraged them from getting an autopsy.
That's a big fact, my brother Dangerous, a big fact. If it had been anyone else at one of those hospitals, you know what hospital I'm talking about, the hospital where the people make you apologize for telling the truth. If it had been one of them, heads would have rolled.
Tried to encourage them to cremate the child and failed to report the death to the medical examiner.
They also did not report the death to the authorities of Clayton County or the Clayton County medical examiner. This report was made by a funeral home, and after their funeral home waved the flag and alerted the authorities regarding this, it wasn't until then when Dr. St. Julian told the family what actually happened.
Now, we reached out to Dr. St. Julian, but she declined to comment. We did hear from the hospital, however. Their statement reads, while our heartfelt sympathies go out to the family, Southern Regional Medical Center denies the allegations in the complaint referencing the hospital. Since this matter is in litigation, we are refrained from providing any additional information. Dr. St. Julian.
Absolutely no accountability for what they've done. They deny it. After it's in the face of the parents, they deny it. That is outright disrespectful.
Is not an employee of the hospital. The hospital has taken the appropriate steps in response to this unfortunate situation.
Absolutely dangerous. Absolutely. They didn't report it to the hospital. They didn't report it to the authorities. Everybody there in that room while that young lady was trying to give birth need to be locked up. That's the least that should happen to them. The least.
Situation. We are live in Clayton County. Angelique Proctor.
Just so upsetting. Your heart goes out to that family. Angelique, thanks.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
This is one of the most sad, egregious, and horrific situations that I've ever seen.
Inside Southern Regional Medical.
Skip this video.
It was supposed to be a day of joy. July 9th, Jessica Ross went into labor, hoping to welcome her first child.
Their dreams and hopes turned into a night.
Yes, in the groove. I noticed how they just said that it's a sad, unfortunate situation that happened to this couple and a baby's dead, and their denial is adding insult to injury, insult to a unthinkable injury, actually.
Nightmare that was covered up by Southern Regional Medical Center.
A lawsuit filed Wednesday morning alleges the baby got stuck during labor. And despite signs of distress, Dr. Tracy St. Julian continued to try and pull the baby out.
Just imagine one of us. This is one somebody who looked like us who did this and tried to cover it up. That's why when we talk about the system, anyone who's in that system are the enemy. Somebody who looked like us will cover this up. See a young couple having their first child and would take them through that and then say it's just an unfortunate situation.
The clear and obvious answer is to perform a C-section. This is what's done all the time. And that was not done in this case, and it should have been.
Susan Witt is a medical malpractice attorney who examined the case for us, which claims that when the doctors finally did perform a C-section hours later, they found the baby decapitated.
I have never heard of a situation where the result has been a decapitation.
Instead of telling the couple, the lawsuit says doctors tried to cover up what happened, telling them that they didn't have a right to a free autopsy, encouraging cremation, and even concealing what happened when they asked.
They actually tried to get the couple to cremate the baby to cover it up.
To see the body.
When they wrapped this baby up tightly, they propped the baby's head up on top of the blanket to make it appear as though the head was actually attached when it wasn't.
That is an attempt to defraud and deceive the family.
The family says it wasn't until a funeral home raised the red flag that the parents would learn the truth. 4 days after she first went into labor.
I think this is one of the most outrageous situations that I've ever seen in my 25 years of practicing law.
Michael Downa, Channel 2 Action News this morning.
Watch breaking news on
Crazy. absolute mind-boggling.
The latest chapter in a horrible, horrible story. For the first time, we're hearing from the funeral home director that blew the whistle after he received a decapitated baby from a Metro Atlanta hospital. Atlanta News First Patrick Quinn is live tonight south of Atlanta outside Watkins Funeral Home that's in Riverdale. And Patrick, the family and agencies across the county are thanking staff there for speaking up.
Rick, the truth of the matter is, without Sylvania Watkins here, seeing this baby, noticing something was wrong, and speaking out, not only will a multi-agency investigation into this death may not be happening, but also the family might not know the truth around this young boy's death.
I've seen almost everything, and I won't say that no more because this was something I had never seen.
In mid-July, Sylvania Watkins at Willie A. Watkins Funeral Home in Riverdale received a baby's body from a nearby hospital. It didn't look right to have come from a hospital and not the coroner. He called the family and quickly realized
they didn't know. They did not know.
The parents did not know the boy's true condition. His body was detached from his head.
And seeing the pain and anguish as if like, what really just happened? Your heart goes out to them.
It was then Watkins knew he had to alert authorities. His next call, the Clayton County Medical Examiner, who now has urged the Georgia Composite Medical Board and the Secretary of State's office to investigate 3 specific doctors and the nursing staff at Southern Regional Medical Center. The family has since filed a lawsuit against the hospital and medical staff involved in the birth.
It was just horrible, despicable, terrifying.
Big facts, dangerous. Shout out to that funeral home. Salute to that funeral home for doing the right thing and not further covering this up. They did the right thing, and that's a breath of fresh air to have someone do the right thing, because these parents, they need justice. And I'm going to get on that, Brother Dangerous, to see if we can reach out to this young couple, because I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Kimberly Seals Allers is a maternal health advocate and executive director of Earth, an app that turns Black and brown birth experiences into data to spark change. Here in Georgia in 2022, state data shows Black infants are more than twice as likely to die during birth than white infants.
When we see systemic issues like that, this is a cultural problem, and these are the things that need to be rooted out, not just at this particular facility, but out of healthcare providers who have grown to dehumanize us and our infants.
Seals Allers says change in birthing rooms starts with speaking up. For Sylvania, initially speechless, he found his words.
When you see wrong and it's something you can do to make it right to a certain degree, you got to speak up. You got to speak up.
And in the latest statement from the hospital, the Southern Regional Medical Center, a spokesperson said, as our deepest sympathies remain with the family, Southern Regional Medical Center denies the allegations of wrongdoing in the complaint referencing the hospital. Now, Sylvania went on to tell me that they were see their baby before he was buried. In Riverdale, Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
Patrick, thank you.
No accountability, just deny it. No accountability at all.
A general manager for a funeral home knew something wasn't right when he received a decapitated baby. This is the same child mentioned in a lawsuit last week, whose parents and lawyer claim Southern Regional Medical Center staff incorrectly delivered their son and tried to cover it up. Sylvania Watkins says he felt a sense of urgency when he received the child from the hospital. He called the family first. During his call with the grandmother, he says the family didn't know about their son's condition.
Seeing the pain and anguish as if like, what really just happened? Your heart goes out to them. When you see wrong and it's something you can do to make it right to a certain degree, you got to speak up. You got to speak up.
The hospital continues to deny the allegations. The Clayton County Coroner Medical Examiner's Office and the GBI are looking into the child's death as well.
Yeah, the GBI is going to get on that. And it's crazy how they could just do that with no conscience, try to discourage them and try to get them to actually cremate their child to cover it up. Their murder. Yes, it's in Georgia. Regional County, I think Medical Center. I don't know exactly where this young couple was at, but I'm certain there's ways to get in touch with that couple so we can show that couple some love. I mean, it's when I heard this, I said I got to talk about it and inform our people that we got to be real careful. You got to be on it when we go to these hospitals, especially when you don't have the type of insurance that other people have. They want to have care for you, not even have care for you when you don't have the type of insurance that other people have. They don't want to give you medication. They don't want to give you accommodations. And they really don't give a damn. They're really not in it for the health care. They're not in it for that. Some people, they're about the money. If you don't have a lot of money, they will probably, if she had she probably was out the hospital the next day. She probably was home the next day after giving birth to her baby with his head detached. She was probably home because they rush you out, especially if you don't have insurance. They're not going to give you that type of accommodations, feeding you, lodging you, caring for you. They're going to stitch you up and send you home. I remember back in the days, it was 3 to 4 days, almost a week sometimes, women used to stay in the hospital after having babies. Now it's like a day will go past and they'll send you right home. And it's a system. It's a capitalist system. It's not about them caring for people. It's about them getting that money. And the ones who they care for is the ones with the most money. If they can milk those insurance policies and get the maximum of those insurance policies, they will have you stay there just to get the money. Not necessarily because you need that much care, but if you are a couple who don't have that much money and you're there to give childbirth, they're gonna rush you out of there. Yeah, they are cycles, outright cycles. I want to thank everybody for coming through. I hope that the information that we received today was informative. And to have our people and all people to be vigilant when they go into these hospitals. You have to stay on them to make sure that whoever our loved one is that's supposed to be getting care at those hospitals, to be sure that they're receiving their proper care and not being abused in those hospitals. We got to be sure of that. The only way we can be sure of that is to be on that. When my father was in the hospital, we was in shifts. Somebody stayed in their face all the time he was up there. My father had he had 5 strong sons, and he had grandsons and great grandsons, and somebody stayed in their face 24/7 to make sure he was getting the proper care and wasn't playing with them. But I want to close out saying peace. Thank you to Keith West, my good brother Keith West, my brother Big Dog Philly OG. In the groove, salute to you, peace. Salute to the brother Key Norfolk. Salute to the brother Dangerous Music. Salute to the brother Woke Is a New Sleep. Salute to the brother Dangerous Music. Salute to the brother The Realest McCoy. Thank you for coming through. Salute to my brother Talk Your Talk Media. Greedy Vegan. I appreciate all the family coming through, joining me this evening. Something that, I had to speak about and inform our people of. Again, when you go to these hospitals and we have loved ones there, it's good to let people know that this patient have a lot of loved ones that has a lot of family. So they can, if they see family coming through back and forth, they see family going back and forth, you say, okay, this person is not alone. So we can't pull no bullshit with this patient because if somebody's always here going back and forth. Because if they don't see anybody in that hospital visiting the patient, they're going to neglect that patient. They're going to abuse that patient. They're going to not care for that patient. So if you have to go to the hospital, make sure some presence is being shown all the time your loved one is in that damn hospital to be sure that it's going to receive the proper care. This is your brother Nasir. This is the Enemy's Public. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.
A once goal-driven, ambitious Sapphire turns to the street life after the sudden death of her big brother Dre. Dre's best friend Devontae tries to honor his homeboy's last request of looking out for his baby sister. A rebellious Sapphire makes it very difficult for Devontae to carry out his promise. Author Angela King James presents Fire. Get it on Amazon, on paperback, or Kindle.
Yo, the enemy's public, I gotta keep my eyes open. Pay attention, stop walking around like you blindfolded. This not the World Cup, but Nasir be kicking knowledge. This the type of information you can never learn in college. It's time to fight back, it's no more trying to play it cool. We got interviews, podcasts, and got the latest news. So sit back and relax, we about to get it started. Earth is a canvas, and guess who's the con artist? They brainwashing us, the system corrupted. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. I said you are now rocking with the enemy's public. Hey.